Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting edition of Transformers Reviews. Well, today, guys, we're actually going to be taking a look at the Kingdom/Legacy Blaster. And because of that, we are starting off here in his alt mode. And the one thing that has kind of thrown me off is the tape deck door actually looks a little bit smaller than what I thought it should be. But then again, I have been rocking with the Titan's Return version for like the last, however many years. And its proportions were not exactly correct because it was a pre-tool for Soundwave, which, as you can see between these two guys, it's nice to have two distinct molds, but I do love the difference in size. However, if we want to go ahead and start comparing these guys, we do need to do one thing that is unique to them alone. And for this guy, what's really interesting is, instead of just a single button, the entire row of buttons for his boombox mode, you just press down on it, and boom, there's his tape deck door. Now, while I initially saw images of Eject, I thought, okay, it's just the same transformation as the guys from Siege. Well, I was actually totally wrong. The engineering is completely different, and honestly, I feel his robot mode is a little bit superior to these guys. For it actually being a tape, though, it is kind of weird with the crystal effect that they went to go with. I know that is a legacy thing, but for an actual audio cassette, it is kind of a weird touch, especially considering that this guy originally came out in Kingdom, although this might be evidence that he has always been intended to be a legacy mold, and they just pushed him out early in the line. However, guys, aside from that, really what you see is what you get in boombox mode. There's not a whole lot to go off of. However, it is a decent size because when you pull in another figure, you can see that it's roughly about between Voyager and Deluxe size. And for Blaster, especially how he scales in robot mode, that'll actually work out quite well a little bit later. So, speaking of that, why don't we get to it? And so here is our boy in his robot mode. And just like all the other bangers of the current generation lines, he is very accurate to his portrayal on screen. Now, one thing that I did forget is in robot mode, when you're going there, you have to change out these speakers. You basically just flip them around like that on the legs. Voila, now you have that done. Now, as you can obviously see, his gun hand is busy at the moment because, much like Soundwave, where they molded in a finger that he could literally press down and release his tape deck door, they have done the same for Blaster, to where he would push one of his buttons to open his. However, because he's only pushing in on one side of a rather big button, he can't open his own tape deck door like Soundwave can, so you're going to have to do that for him. One thing that I did bring out previously was that he may have been a legacy figure that was pushed back to Kingdom. The only thing is, as you can see with his gun up here, and on his arms, and on his legs, and his back, I mean, it's just like this guy is covered in 5mm peg ports, which, obviously is the big thing in Siege, and Earthrise plus Kingdom. So I don't really know. Maybe he was meant to be in both lines from the start instead of one being pushed to the other. Who knows? So speaking of, here he is with a couple of fellow legacy figures. All of my guys, as you can see, these are all previous molds from the previous series. So it's no wonder that they have as many combat ports as they do. Is that still a thing going forward in Legacy? Of all the gimmicks we've ever had to put up with, I think that one is the one I've liked the most. It was the least intrusive, and so if that's a permanent feature going forward, I think I'd actually be down with that. Now, you saw how we cheekily included Eject down there, but I wanted to show you what he looks like compared to Frenzy here. That, I mean, like I said, I feel the robot mode is dramatically improved over this guy. But one of the finer details is, if you can see, he actually has molded fist in both of his arms, as opposed to like Frenzy and Rumble. However, one of the things that all these guys have always been missing is like their accessories, as far as like blasters and other things. So basically, if you just go ahead and plug that in, we're just taking that from Silverstreak for the moment. You can see that you can plug in a small weapon that's, about appropriate for someone his size, and he looks pretty fly with it, so I'm happy about that. So guys, we've kind of seen this before just a few seconds ago, but I felt we needed a better pose, especially with these guys being able to do just such a thing in an awesome manner, and especially how they square off. Now, Blaster is a little bit bigger and taller than Soundwave when he's standing up, but that doesn't matter because they are close enough as is. And so as we can see, guys, Soundwave, being the punk he is, called in some backup from the Coneheads. Yet, as we saw earlier, Blaster is not without his own backup, and this looks like it would be a pretty awesome matchup between the two sides. So definitely, Blaster and Eject are not failing to do their part as far as when you want to set up an awesome diorama. And so, was there any doubt that our boys would come out on top, especially after more additional backup arrived? Yet it is awesome to finally have a guy that scales excellently with the other figures. The Titan's Return version just totally doesn't fit in with any other guys except maybe the Power of the Prime's Optimus. But even then, their overall aesthetic and everything was kind of sketchy. So to have something that is of Studio Series quality, that is really cool. So one of the things that I didn't bring out before we go, guys, is I really like how the vibrant colors are, especially with the yellow and the red. You can see how it compares to the hoistry color and hubcap here. And I like how it contrasts with the black and the medium gray on his legs. Looks great. And anyway, so just really happy to have this guy finally. Alrighty, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed our review of Transformers Legacy Blaster. And until next time, guys, we'll see you in another review.
The Morphobots are repelled by your music.
For once, I hope your speakers don't give out, Blaster!
Mission accomplished, Prime. Good work, Blaster. You've just gone platinum.